everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations. This week I've joined the 12 Days of Christmas Memories YouTube Inspiration Hop. For day 10, our scrapbook layout theme is Holiday Treats. Now, you might have noticed that I'm a little under the weather today, so I decided to create a really simple page for a cookbook that I've been making for my oldest son. I've gathered a few papers here from Echo Park, and I've cut down a piece of red cardstock to which I'll be adding some polka dots to using this stencil. Now, before I put everything together, I want to stencil this background with some white pigment ink. The stencil is a little smaller than my 6x8 cardstock, and while I could overlap it, I'm just going to make it easy on myself today and just trim it down to fit the stencil. I'm using one of my favorite magnet mats to hold the stencil in place while I add the ink. The white pigment is going to give me a really soft, chalk-like look to this background. Now, if you wanted a more brighter white, I would suggest going over the images a few times with the ink, or you could use some white embossing powder with your pigment ink. If you're going to use embossing powder, you're going to want to sprinkle that powder on before your pigment ink dries, and you're going to want to heat set it in stages to give you a bright white polka dot look. Like I said, I want mine to be soft around the edges, so I'm just adding a single layer of ink with a blending tool to my cardstock background. Alright, now that I have the page covered, I'm going to let this set so that I don't smudge it and allow that pigment ink to dry, and then we will finish putting this page together. So I've gone ahead and cut down my paper and gathered some stickers for the layout. I've also cut a piece of white cardstock to 6x8 for a background. Now, at first I planned on putting this red cardstock at an angle on my background, but you all know that I really struggle with putting anything at an angle, so I ended up fixing it before I added that patterned paper. I had also planned on placing this pine paper below the strip of checked red paper, but I realized that I needed a little strip of that pattern paper at the top of the page. So I've gone ahead and trimmed off the strip that I need, and then I'll adhere the two pieces down with a space in between, and that's where I'll end up putting that red checked paper strip. I think it helps to separate the two reds, and it gives me a little more area to work with at the top of the page. At this point, I have a lot of red on this page, and I want to bring in a little bit more of that green that matches the pine in the background. I discovered a border strip in my collection that needed using, and it fits perfectly on this page. Now that I have all the background pieces down, I'm going to adhere my photo to the page using a little foam tape and start figuring out where I want everything to be placed on the layout. I'm going to start with the title because these acrylic letters are really big, especially for a smaller page. These are going to be placed across the top as a way to label the section of the cookbook where the Christmas candy recipes are located. I also have these cute little stacked bowls for the page. The yellow bowl doesn't really match the layout, so I'm just going to trim it off. These little bowls are going to be tucked behind the photo and be an anchor for one of my embellishment clusters. Almost all of these items are stickers. I like to use an anti-static pouch on the back of my stickers to help remove the stickiness before I dry fit them to my layouts or cards. With the adhesive removed, I can move them around as much as I want before I decide on their final placement. Alright, now that I know where everything is going to go, I'm going to start adhering everything down. I'm going to start at the top with the title. I found these cute Scrabble letters in my stash that need using, and I have a goal this month to use up some of my craft collection before I do my big craft room clean out in January. Now, I have no idea how old these are, but they worked perfectly for the page and it gave me an excuse to use them. To adhere the acrylic letters to the page, I'm going to be using glue dots. Glue dots are a little bit more forgiving than liquid adhesive if you make a mistake, and boy, am I going to make a mistake today. I don't know if it's the lack of sleep or the cold medicine I took, but I end up spelling the word candy wrong on the page. Now, I'm going to notice it a little bit later on in this process video, and I will fix it. The embellishments are being adhered to the page with adhesive and thick and thin foam tape. This is going to give it some different levels of dimension. As I put these together, you're going to notice that I repeat colors and shapes in each cluster. I also remove a few elements that don't fit the rest of the page. Here at the bottom, I had planned on layering the two banners, but the tan hearts didn't really match anything else. So I opted just to add the single red heart instead to match the other red elements on the page. I've also made sure that there are holly leaves in each cluster and a little pop of red. At the top of the page, I noticed that the holly berries were not showing as much, so I added this little tab sticker for a pop of bright red at the top of the page. Now it is at this point where I noticed that I spelled the word candy wrong. Thank goodness I used glue dots instead of liquid adhesive. There was a little damage when I pulled off one of the letters a little too quickly, but I will be able to cover that. The other one came off with a little lifting from my tweezers, and there was hardly any damage. See, even I make mistakes. It's just that I've made so many of them, I've either learned how to fix them or how to cover them up. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and place these two letters back down on the page, spelling the word candy correctly, and then I'm going to add just a couple more embellishments and finish up the layout. So I've dumped out my jar of heart shapes, and I'm looking for a black acrylic one that will draw your eye from the acrylic letters at the top across the photo to the bottom of the page. I'm also going to add a wooden heart to the left embellishment cluster and a small wooden heart at the bottom, and this is going to form a visual triangle with the other wooden elements that I've added to the layout. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this finished page. This is a smaller layout designed to go in a cookbook. On the back of this page, I'll write some notes to my son explaining where the traditions came from and where some of the recipes were discovered. I like how everything came together so quickly and how easily this could be adapted for a larger layout. Let me go ahead and show you a few close-ups of the layout so that you can see it in a little bit more detail. I want to thank you for joining me for day 10 of the 12 Days of Christmas Memories YouTube Inspiration Hop. If you wish to see more Christmas Memories layouts, I have put links to all the other creators participating in this hop down in the description below. I hope that today's project inspired you to record a few of your holiday treats. If you would like to see more scrapbook layouts I have made, you can click on that collection icon above. While you're at it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.